There we go. Thank you very much, Tom. Welcome back. We are kicking off the day. We've just had Tim. Thank you so much, Tim, for your session. And I just want to run through, if you haven't been to one of these before, you'll soon get the hang of it. But if you're wearing the headphones, I recommend, because you've got optimal sound. You've also got a volume button on one of the sides that you can just adjust that if I'm getting too crackly or loud or anything. Other things, we've got closed captions on the side there. If you want to listen to this in a different language, just download the Interprify app. And to this side of me, I have a QR code where you can submit questions. I'll also be running around with the microphone at the end for the people in the room. So on to our next session. I'm really excited about this one because I'm actually a marketer myself. And merchandise, I guess, it's that takeaway thing that people remember your brand. So it is important, but you've obviously got this argument, you know, that it needs to be memorable but sustainable today. And we've got none other than Beth Frost, who's the leading engagement specialist at Noonah, who's going to talk us through how we can do that best. So over to you, Beth.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, firstly, thank you all so much for coming to this session today. We are going to be talking about event merchandise for a sustainable tomorrow. So during this session, we're going to touch a bit upon the history of event merchandise and how this is changing and constantly evolving in today's society to become more sustainable, and just sort of really where the idea came from and where people really started to realise how important event merchandise is for your brand, for brand amplification, etc. I will also be touching a bit upon the company I work for called Noonah and sort of our approach to sustainable merchandise. So we've got an experience which we call Personalise, which I'll touch upon in more detail later. But we're just going to be talking about our sort of 5-step approach to merchandise. This is just what we have come up with. So it's just important at this stage to mention, as a company, we are continually looking for the best practices, and we're going to be continually looking into the best sustainable options for merchandise, but this is just sort of our approach. So my name is Beth and I'm an engagement specialist at Noonah. So Noonah is a company who provide experiential technology for brands, agencies, and just really providing that experiential element to your event. So Noonah's got quite a lot of different branches to it, but the one that we're going to be specifically talking about today is our personalised experience. So just what really does Noonah and Personalise mean with sustainability today? So we're continually evolving and adapting as a business to make more sustainable choices in everyday working life and also in an event setting. So we are actually on our way to becoming B Corp certified early on in the new year, and also just trying to take that over to an event setting as well. So just to talk a little bit about the personalised experience then. So how this works is it is event merch, whether it is your brand and something that a product that already exists and we will personalise onto that, or it will be a blank item such as a water bottle, etc., that we will provide, and then it will be an experience on your stand for you guys to then interact with your customers and they will personalise the product. So we've always really been aware of sustainability just because this is an experience that we've been offering for many years now, and of course if you spend a lot of time personalising your own product, you're more likely to keep it and take it away with you because you've spent that time invested into that product. So we've always been aware of sort of the research around just sort of how positive it can be to personalise your own product. So we just wanted to just take this even further and make it even more sustainable and make the whole experience even more sustainable with the product, etc. So the way we have been doing that recently, and we'll continue to do that, is just working really closely with our clients when they tell us the sort of personalised experience they would like, and providing the correct sort of merchandise. And we have come up with a 5-step process which we like to hit at least 3 boxes of those when talking about that bit of merchandise. So I'll come back to that a little bit in more detail later, but just a bit about event merch. So we all know how important it is for your brand because of course it promotes brand amplification. If you're taking something away with your branding on, then you're more likely to have a long-lasting memory of that interaction with you as a brand, that interaction with the product, and also remember the event as well. So if we just pause there and just think about where this sort of idea came from and where really people started to realize the positive effects that it can have on your brand. So I'd say around the 70s is when the appetite for brand merch was really, really high. So this idea of it being super important, great for brand amplification, was at its height. So everybody was just trying to give away a lot of different merchandise. So even in today's society, it's become likely that you will receive a piece of merch to take away with you at an event, whether that is something you buy or whether that's something that you were just given. But really, because this idea became so amplified, brands were just giving away so much merch because they thought that the idea would then be that it would amplify the brand even further if you've got 10 products with their brand on rather than one. But really, there was quite a lot of merch that was being given away that wasn't very useful and that wasn't really going to be very helpful. And can I just see a show of hands of how many people have been given something on a stand, or whether it's a leaflet or something like that, that just you either get rid of or you just put in a drawer and you never use again? Because, yeah, I know I have, exactly. So the idea was really then quantity over quality, because people just wanted to put their branding on absolutely everything. So this sort of idea, obviously, as we all become more aware of sustainability, really needs to be led into the sort of event merchandise. So it's never something that's going to be, it's never going to go away. We all need it. It's fantastic to then take away with you and have something with you the whole time. So what we have done as a company is come up with a 5-step process that we have created for what we call merch with meaning. So within our personalized sector, we would then make sure at least 3 of these boxes are ticked for it then to become sustainable. This is just in our sort of opinion. So have any of you guys been over to Event Tech Live this morning? Just over here. Cool. So we are actually exhibiting on the stand just behind us here on D20. So I definitely recommend popping over after this if you haven't already, just so you can actually see what I'm talking about in action, and you can see how we personalize those products, and also have a bit of a chat with the team about our different sort of products within sustainability. So this 5-step criteria that we have come up with, which would then link to merch with meaning, is reusable. So the product needs to be reusable. There is no point giving somebody something that's going to be a single use, because they're never going to be able to use it again. Recyclable. So an example that we have over on our stand today is reusable coffee mugs, and these are all made from recyclable materials. So once you have actually finished with that product, you can still then recycle it as well at the end. Useful. So I think this one's a really important point. If you're giving away something that isn't going to be very useful, then people aren't going to be keeping it, they're not going to be using it. So it really needs to have that sort of useful feel to it as well. Low impact. What's low impact within the environment? As in social impacts, and just sort of at each stage, is it low impact? And then personal, of course, as I've mentioned, our sort of experience with the personalised. So what we say is it's only sustainability with products is only 3 ticks away. So you need to hit at least 3 of the 5 points to be able to then have merch with meaning, for example. So let's talk about personalised a little bit more. So who here is more likely to keep a piece of merch if you have spent time designing it, making it look pretty, putting your name on it? You're more likely to keep it. Yeah? Cool. Well, exactly. So this sort of idea is linked to some research which shows that 76% of consumers are more likely to purchase from brands that interact with personalised and create a personalised experience, and then therefore more likely to keep it because it's been personalised. So of course this is one of the key points within our 5 steps. So you are already making a more sustainably conscious decision if, instead of just giving away merch, people have spent time personalising it as well. Another thing that's quite nice about that is not only does it have positive impacts on the environment, but it also does the brand as well, because you then have positive brand association if you're more likely to give away sustainable products, and then you're more likely to have that sort of positive recognition within your brand as well. And then also that also links to customer loyalty as well. People are more likely to be loyal to you if you've got positive brand association. So, of course, it's really important to mention that the 5-step process, which was reusable, recyclable, useful, personal, and low impact, is only Noonah's criteria that we have come up with for our personalised experience. Of course, everybody is still learning about sustainability, everybody is still trying to understand it even more, but even if you just take one step further, whether that is making sure your product is useful or personal or recyclable, then they're more likely to keep it for a longer period of time. And if you've got your coffee cup on your desk for 3 or 4 years and it's got your brand name on it, that's going to have a longer lasting effect on your brand than something that you're going to get given at the event and put in a drawer and never use again. So it's really important to just sort of make those sustainable, conscious choices with event merchandise. So, of course, the sustainability is super important within today's climate, and there's a lot of brands and agencies are looking to work more and more with companies who are sustainably conscious. So as I mentioned, we're on our way to becoming B Corp certified, and it just makes a lot of environmental sense as well as business sense for us to look into this route even further. So what can you do to be more sustainable within event merchandise? Well, as I just mentioned, even if you just hit 2 or 3 of those points that I mentioned, then you're already making more sustainably conscious choices, and it will also make more sense for your brand. It's important to also remember quality over quantity. If you have something that's going to last longer, then you'll have a longer lasting brand association as well. So, of course, to create a fully sustainable event or a fully sustainable approach does take time, but if you just take those little steps towards it, then you're more likely to then have a sustainable event. So that sort of concludes everything that I'm going to say today, but that's just sort of give you an overview of Noonah's approach to it and just sort of highlight the importance that event merch will always be around in the event industry, because to have something tangible to take away with you is very important. But what can we do to make this better and make more sustainable choices within this? Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Do we have any questions in the room at all? If not, I can go straight to our Slido, and we have a question. How do Noonah personalise merch?
So there are a couple of different ways depending on what product. So when we spoke specifically about the coffee cups then, we do engraving, so you can engrave onto it. We also do things like tote bags and water bottles, and that may be through sublimation or heat pressing onto the product. But it really depends on the product that you go for, and it also largely depends on the material of the product to the sort of way that we do it as well. So a couple of different ways. Like I mentioned, if you pop over to Event Tech Live, then you'll actually be able to see this yourself, and you'll be able to see the engraving on the cups.
Amazing, thank you, Beth. And a question from me, if you don't mind.
Of course.
If you're working with, I guess, a lot of suppliers in the
Yep.
industry that provide all of these materials,
Yep.
are you noticing that their offering is changing to accommodate, obviously, the direction that we as event planners are going in?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a lot more than it was, I would say. I think a lot more people are trying to promote a more sustainable approach to event merchandise, and I think that that is becoming a lot more widespread and readily available as well. So that's another important thing. Of course, there are still methods out there that aren't sustainable, and really at the end of the day it depends what our client wants, but we as Noonah want to guide them towards the best sustainable practices in the best ways.
That's promising, because I
Yeah.
guess, once the people that are, or the manufacturers that are providing all of these items in bulk,
Yeah.
start down the same journey as us, then the offering of those products are only going to get more innovative and wider,
Yeah.
rather than, a few years ago when I was event project manager and I was looking for materials, it was like a bamboo pen, and that was the best I could find,
Yeah.
So it's great to understand that the industry as a whole
Yeah.
are moving in the right direction. That's promising.
Absolutely, and I think that's the case not only with event merchandise, but also just with events as a whole, about more of people are thinking more sustainably for their stand builds as well. I know, for example, our stand over at Event Tech Live is used from pretty much all upcycled materials from our warehouse. I know that one of our team said we were using so much that he came back one day and his desk didn't have any legs on it because we were just trying to use everything. So really it's just sort of taken that idea widely into the event industry. Of course, event merchantry is what I've specifically focused on here, but just really trying to do it in all practices. Like I say, to be fully sustainable will take time, but just little steps can just help.
And an important bit to focus on today as well, so thank you for that,
Yeah,
Beth. Any
absolutely.
questions in the room? No? I'm just going to check. Yes, we've got one more. Could you provide any case study examples how you have helped a client with their sustainable merchandise? Any case studies you've got, examples that you've done recently that you're able to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So quite a lot of the time when we work with the clients, we can direct them more towards something more sustainable, like I've just mentioned. So an example is a client that we worked with recently, and they wanted to have water bottles, but we wanted to make sure that the water bottles that we provided were at least hitting 3 of the criterias. So we worked with them, and we found the best solution for them, and they did therefore then have sustainable water bottles that they could reuse, they could recycle, they were very useful, and they also have personalised them at the event as well. Like I've said before, it does always depend on what the client wants at the end of the day, but it's our job to sort of guide them towards the right way. So we sort of guided them towards these specific water bottles that were made of sustainable, reusable, and recyclable materials.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Beth.
Thank you
If
very
could
much,
give it up
everybody.
for Beth.
Thank you.
Join us at midday, where we will be talking to Dale Parmenter, CEO of DRPG, on all things breaking down sustainability and making it simple. Thank you.